Okay, guys, good morning. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you for taking time out of your very, very busy Saturday to join us for this webinar. Firstly, I'd like to apologize to everybody that was on Zoom and then we had to move them to the webinar. We had significantly more people that are subscribed than we expected, so we had to move it to a different platform. So apologies and thank you for joining us. I'd like to start off by just saying that this presentation is for the beauty industry. That includes hair, skin, and nails. So please be aware of that. Also, we will not be able to answer all your questions. Please only put pertinent questions on, and right at the end, we'll choose the ones that are relevant, and Andrea will join me and he'll ask me the questions, and we'll try and answer them as much as we can. Please do not post any thank yous or well done or anything like that until later, if you want to. Please do not post questions till near the end, because we won't be able to keep tabs of all of them. And also, we might cover some of the topics you're asking questions about, so wait till the end before you start posting questions. Okay, so also to let you know, we're going to be recording this, and we're going to put it on our sites on YouTube. We'll let you know where they are closer to the end of the presentation. Let me see if I covered everything else. Okay, so questions, we're recording it. Okay, then I'm going to share my screen because most of this is in PowerPoint. So just hang on one sec. Okay, shit, I didn't put it to the end. Okay, I've got 420 slides. Just kidding. Okay, so firstly, I think this needs no introduction. We're in a very different time in our lives and in human history. I think there's big things to say, but that's the reality. But I want to start off by saying what this is not. Okay, I think we've all spent time on the TVs, on social media, reading everything there is about the coronavirus. Every time a new meme gets published, everybody knows about it. And I think we are engaged with this because it's serious and it's affecting our lives. So I don't want to discuss the coronavirus. I also don't want this to be a rah-rah section. Motivation is going to be part of it. But this is about practical things that we need to do. And sorry, let me carry on with that. So I want this to be practical, that we can learn things and take things back to our salons. I also don't want this to be a pity party where we focus only on the negatives. The negatives are there and they are part of what we understand. So we don't need to go through them in too much detail. I want us to leave this and come up with specific things. So what is this? I think we're here to find solutions. We want to come up with a plan and we want to change our mindset. I want to show you something that I used to put this presentation together. It's a bit of a mind map. It looks something like this. So you start off with the overall concept in the middle, and then as you get ideas, just draw little bubbles around it. Instead of having a piece of paper, you just write idea after idea. Because when you do the bubble story, you can add ideas around the bubble that you start off with. Okay, so use it, don't use it, but that's what my suggestion would be instead of sitting and scribbling points. Okay, so I'd like to put this whole presentation where we are in context. I think those of us that were born after the 50s have been brought up in a very unique time in human history. We've been in a prosperous bubble. If you look at human history, all the way up until after the Second World War, it's been characterized by pestilence, disease, wars, slaughter. We've really had a very brutal part of our history. But our generation hasn't experienced that because we're fortunate enough to live in a time when things had evolved to a different field. Not all of us. There's still countries experiencing serious trauma like Syria. So we need to understand that we've been fortunate. This is the first real test that our generation globally has had. But if you have to compare this to what some of the experiences were in the Second World War, I'm sure you'd rather be home watching Netflix and putting on weight rather than getting bombed and kicked out of your houses. So as bad as it is, previous generations have gone through a lot worse. So let's keep that in context. Okay, so let's start off by looking at the things we can't control, because there are certain things out of our ability to control. We need to understand, we need to let certain things go and only worry about the things that we can. Firstly, the virus, we can do nothing about it. It is there. It is obvious. We can all see it. We can understand it. and we get a sense of what impact it has on our lives. Secondly, the economy. There is nothing we can do about the economy and how everybody responds to the crisis that we have. Thirdly, government actions. The decisions they make, and I think up until now they've made the right decisions. But again, every single day is a new day. This is a new experience for everybody. We all hope that they will continue to make the right decisions, but we've got no control over the decisions that they make. Fourthly, as a result of what our economy has gone through, beyond Corona, the exchange has been significantly affected. As you all know, we've had a ratings downgrade, and that, in addition to Corona, has just decimated our exchange rate. Then social news, social media and the news, it affects our mindset. There's a lot of crap that's been put on social media. You need to differentiate the negative from the positive. So these are the things we can't control. More importantly, what can we control? The starting point is our attitude. No task that we take on will have better results or is determined more than the attitude we have in going into that task. If we let us get into a negative mindset, and it is easy to get into that. Believe me, for the first time in my life, I can tell you, I felt what being depressed was like. I could never understand it. But last week, for 24 hours, I felt totally defeated. But defeat and depression is not going to get you anywhere. You've got to get up and you've got to get things done. You know, all the motivational courses that you've gone through in your lives, that you've attended and spent good money on, now is the time when they start making sense. And if we look at some of the big speeches that were made over the centuries, like Churchill's speech during the war, Mandela's speech with the new South Africa, Martin Luther King in the States, now they start making sense. They're no longer just words that we heard on TV of some great leader saying things that we expect. Now they start having some meaning. So our attitude is going to be important. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to plan for our return. When we get back to our business, what business are we going to go back to? And what is our specific plan that we're going to put in place? We can control the interaction on social media, what we say on social media, what we project on social media. We've got to try and be positive because the negativity is there. We don't need to contribute to it. I'm going to discuss that in a little bit more detail later. We can control our expenses, we can control our cash flow, and we control how we interact with our staff. I'm going to get those into more detail with those a little bit later on. Okay, I think we need to understand that there's no going back. The life that we left 3 or 4 weeks ago is not the life that we're going to go back to. Things are going to change. I don't want to sugarcoat the future because the reality is things are different. We need to go into this with our eyes wide open, being ready to take whatever opportunities present themselves and being able to respond to any negativity or any things that go wrong in our business. It's not what happens, it's your response to it. So there is no going back. Life has changed, you've got to accept that. I think the longer we've been in lockdown, the more time we've had to think about things, the more sense you're getting that this is our new reality. So your new life and your old life are going to be two different things. The benefit you have of your old life, if you've developed years of experience, so the experience that you've put together, all the business courses, all the ideas, all the mistakes, all the successes that you've had, you will take into your new life. So all the decisions you will make going forward will be based on what you've learned. Now is the time you've got to be motivated, you've got to be sharp, and you've got to be flexible. So the reality that's different isn't bad, it's just different. Okay, what we're going through is bad at the moment, but what we're going to go into is going to be different. You've got to make sure that different is not bad. That different is an opportunity. And I saw this quote and it says, expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. And for me, the most important part is prepare to be surprised. Because nobody knows what we're going back to. Nobody knows the world and the business environment we're going to go back to. But if we are prepared that things are going to be different, and if we have the mindset to adapt to the changes that are going to be happening, we will succeed, and more importantly, we will survive. Because in the short term, it's about survival. It's not about making money. Nobody's going to be banking money into their bank accounts, believe me. Okay, I read an article a few weeks ago on News 24, and it compared to what we're going through to grief. And I'm sure some of you have heard that grief goes through 5 different stages. It starts off with denial, where you think, okay, this has not happened. Okay, and it's going to be over soon. And then after you realize that this is not going to go away very quickly, then you become angry. You start blaming things around you. And the reality is there's nobody to blame now. The virus doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where humanity is. It doesn't care about your business. It just is. It's part of nature. Then you start bargaining and think, okay, I'll try and do this and I'll do that and I'll try and find a solution and I'll go back and my client's going to come rushing in. That may not happen. And if it does, it's going to happen in a very different way and ways that we cannot foresee. And after you've taken all that into account, I think the reality is we go into depression because the reality starts becoming real. Once we get through that, and you've got to try and shorten that period as much as possible, we'll get into acceptance. And once you get into acceptance, you can start moving forward. You can start making decisions. Because if you remain in depression, you ought to understand, you just get debilitated and you cannot lift yourself out of bed to go and make things happen. Okay, so now let's try and get some broader discussions. And I'd like to start off with economic scenarios that we have in South Africa, and some of them generally around the world. In the 90s, there's a political commentator by the name of Clem Santa, and he tried to describe the different economic options that South Africa had in the future. And some of you might remember the mindset that we had then. We didn't know what was going to happen after the elections. We didn't know the economy, the political system that we are going to be inheriting after the elections. So he wrote a book, or he wrote an article about the different economic options that we have going forward. So I've taken that concept to try and relate it to where we are now. So let's look at the negatives. Let's look at the low road first. The first thing is that we are going to go through a recession. The reality is that we've been through a recession the last couple of years. I mean, a couple of quarters, the economy shrank by 2.5%. And we all understand how painful that has been. We are going to have bigger contractions than 2.5%, unfortunately. Because if you just take the fact that we've been closed for a month, take that out of our GDP, that's going to have a big impact for 1 month or however long we've been closed. So that's going to have an impact. Then if it gets any worse and unemployment rate gets any higher, we may go into depression. Now, these are all things that have significant impact on our business. Then we've got our fiscal problems. I think because of the problems we've had, and again, I don't need to go into that kind of detail of what our previous president has driven our economy to, we have limited resources to stimulate our economy. Those of you watching the news, you'll see that in the States and the European Union and China and some of the big economies have got the resources to stimulate the economy, to put money back in, because you need money to rush in to have the ability to stimulate the economy and to grow our businesses. If we do not get things right, there is a high risk, and I think we've heard some of that already, we're going to start having social unrest. It's going to become a problem because we are the spoiled, fortunate middle class that have got food in our houses, we've got shelter, we've got Netflix, thank God. But there's a large section of the population that have got none of that, who live from hand to mouth, month to month. And when you get hungry, you don't want to hear about lockdowns. You don't want to hear about staying at home and social distancing. It becomes irrelevant. You worry about feeding your family. Okay, then the lockdown could continue, or could be relaxed very slowly. I want to share something that I think may upset you, and I don't want you to panic about it. But on Thursday, there was a meeting with all the big tenants in shopping centers, and the shopping center council hosted the meeting. And the discussion was happening on how government is talking about opening the economy. It's not going to be, you're going to go back on the 1st of May and all the businesses are going to be open. So they're talking about which businesses are high risk and which businesses are required and are key businesses. And the thing that is scary is our industry was considered high risk. And for high risk industries, they were talking about opening them in June or July. So that for us is a catastrophe. It is scary for us, for our businesses, and for our staff. What they did give an option to is for us to put a submission into government. Now, I have spent the most hectic 24 hours working with a lot of people in the hairdressing industry, and I had a big webinar last night with the beauty industry on putting a submission together. We have to get it in today because the Shopping Centre Council want to put it together and present it as one presentation on Monday. So we are doing our best to get it out there and try and find a way to get our industry open. But don't panic. We don't know what it is till it is. So we will be communicating whatever information we get back. But I think the problem is plan for the worst and get surprised by the things that are positive. Also, one of the negatives is we're going to have medium-term unemployment. Unemployment rate before the corona lockdown was at about 27%. The projections are it's going to go at least to about 30, 35, and possibly 40. That is a scary scenario. And again, to be realistic, the middle class has not been affected by unemployment. And I often say to my staff, do you know anybody unemployed? And they always sit and think about it and say, actually, we don't. Ask yourself that. Up until a couple of weeks ago, did you have any unemployed friends? Because I didn't. Unfortunately, the people that are unemployed were the people with no skills. The reality is that the people that are going to be unemployed going forward are going to be our friends and family. So that's going to have a negative impact. And the next problem is as households cut budget, they will look at what we can probably say is a luxury industry, which is where most of us operate. And if they've got a choice between coming for a blow dry or a new color or a facial and paying school fees, we know exactly which of the two will win. So that is the low road. Let's take a look at what the high road could look like. Firstly, I think because our clients have been sitting at home, bored, looking at themselves in the mirror and seeing all the regrowth and seeing all the wrinkles, I'm hoping there'll be a pent-up demand. And as soon as the industry opens up again, there'll be a quick rush to our businesses. I think it is going to happen, but do not be fooled. That will not be sustainable. If we get another 10% unemployment and we suck money out of the economy, the reality is going to be that people are not going to be able to spend the money they did before. And think about your businesses just taking a 10% hit, what it means. Most of us take a 10% hit is significant. We're going to take more than a 10% hit. The second positive is that if South Africa recovers quicker than other countries, and other countries stay in the lockdown later, there will be a flood of money coming into South Africa because capital or money or investors are always looking where they can get a better return. If South Africa opens up sooner, our stock exchange will start picking up sooner, more money will flood into the country. The third thing is we've had a petrol price drop. I think it's about R1.80, and there's another R2 that's projected for in the next couple of weeks. We as a country use about 23 billion litres of petrol. So if you multiply that by the savings, it looked like between 30 and 45 billion will really stay in the economy instead of landing up in Saudi Arabia and Russia and all the big oil producing countries. So that will be a mini stimulus. Then more importantly, we've had a 2% rate cut from our Reserve Bank. Now effectively what that does is money you would have paid across in interest to the banks and the banks in turn to government will stay in the economy. So it will also create a bit of a stimulus. The problem is we need the economy to open up and we need all the industries to open up so we can bring all these stimulus packages to bear. Having said that, that will still not be enough. I heard a talk yesterday and they were talking over and above these cuts, we need another 100 billion to go into the economy to be able to help us just to survive. Then the fourth positive is one of the challenges we've had with the economy over the last couple of years, I'm sure you've all read it in the papers, that because of government infighting, we haven't been able to put a coordinated economic plan in place. We need that to happen. And I think what is happening at the moment may force government's hands to make the tough decisions, like closing SAA down, like privatizing parts of Eskom. There have been talks about approaching the IMF. It's an international monetary fund which gives governments loans. But there's a lot of kickback at some of the more socialist parts of the government that are saying that if we go and get a loan, there'll be conditions that come with it. Well, I think that's a good thing, because when the IMF loans money, they put certain conditions for what has to be done in the country. So that may force the government to restructure. So if you look at those points, that's what's happening in the larger economy. So let's try and bring it down on what that means for our industry. Well, the first thing is, which is a positive and a negative, is that our industry is reliant on touch. A big part of the communication that's been happening about this virus is social distancing. It's impossible in our industry. Consumers are going to demand hygiene when they come back into our salons, and I'm going to discuss that in a little bit more detail later. The rules about social contact are going to change. Hugging and shaking hands are not going to happen as much anymore. And those Afrikaans tannies that like to kiss on the lips, there's no more kissing on the lips. So social rules of contact are going to change. Clients' expectations of what they expect from restaurants and in your businesses are going to change. The luxury service industry is going to be reviewed. I mean, if everybody's getting cutbacks on salary, are they going to spend 500-600 Rand on a shampoo? 2,500, 3,000 Rand on a moisturizer? I'm not so sure. Then the industry has got the rent problem, which has always been hanging over our heads even before Corona. This has just brought it to the fore. And I'm going to discuss that in a little bit more detail a little bit further down. We're going to have reduced disposable income from our consumers, which I spoke about. I spoke about the exchange rate, which will have impact on our products. Unfortunately, most of our industry is dependent on imported products. And if you have a 30 to 40% depreciation in the currency, it has to be paid for by somebody. And then expenses. We've got expenses that come with our business, and they are looming large because we're having no income and the expenses are staying like an unwanted home guest. Okay, so let's get on to some of the details. And the first thing I think that everybody's been phoning me about is rent. Now, if we take a step back, I think most of you have got landlords. And the discussion all of us have been having over the years is that these landlords have had it too good for too long. We have 7 to 8% escalation in our rents every single year, regardless of what the inflation rate is, which has been about 4.5%, regardless how well the economy is doing, regardless how well the shopping center is doing. They've been sitting back and just raking in. They've had annuity income. They can sit in the beginning of the year and know what they're going to get by the end of the year. Well, guys, this is over. The power is moving into the tenant's hands. And we've got to use it carefully, wisely, and we've got to be careful not to be arrogant. I can tell you what I suggest. Now, I've got to do this very carefully because we are tenants in shopping centers as well. We need to be fair. If the shopping centers go broke, it'll affect all our business. But it's time to put them under pressure to share some of the pain that we're going to be going through. So what I have done with our businesses is we have sent them letters saying we cannot pay them rent. However, we have paid for all the utility bills as an act of good faith. Now, we can be the big mouth screaming and shouting at all the landlords, or we can keep quiet and stay under the radar because the big players like the Fashinis and the Mr. Prices have been on social media, they've been in the news, that they are negotiating aggressively with the landlords. So let's wait and see where this goes. But at the end of the day, besides the bigger players, our industries are relatively small. We will be more under pressure than those industries. So it is a time to flex our muscle. So if you are a salon that has just been making money, you are going to lose money. So maybe now is the time to say to your landlord, I need a serious reduction in my rent. You don't want to give it to me. Bye, I'm out of here. Close your salon, take your fixtures and fittings out, or let him keep the fixtures and fittings. Let him keep your deposit. Because if you're going to bleed out over a year, you're going to lose a lot more money than your deposit. Now, from a landlord's perspective, you're not going to be the only business having the conversation. At least half of their small businesses are going to have the same conversation. So now is to push our advantage. I've been signing leases that are 100 pages. It's ridiculous. They control everything to how the rubbish gets handled. Things in there that are just unreasonable. We need to cut down those agreements to 4 or 5 pages. So this is the time we have a little bit of power. And maybe we can renegotiate some of our leases. And there is a time to walk away. I'm going to discuss a bit more detail on that point. So speak to your landlords, keep communicating, keep it polite, don't be aggressive, because believe me, they are hearing it now. They understand the pressure that we are under, and they have to do something. They got no choice. Okay, then the most important thing is staff. The reality is every company has employed staff. We've got them on our payroll. And more importantly, we are close to our staff. And at Twincare, we've had a family culture. That is what has been our success. And any decisions we make affect our family, essentially. I've been keeping contact with our staff. We have webinars every 2 or 3 days. And you can see it in their eyes. Everybody's concerned because that's the reality. We've all got school fees to pay. we've got rents to pay, and more importantly, we're down to feeding ourselves. We need money to be able to feed ourselves. So dealing with our staff is going to be something that we do very, very carefully. And each business, unfortunately, will have to make a decision for themselves. We've got a few options. We can cut some salaries down. We can get people to work a half day. We can get them to use some of their leave. But any decision you make has got to fit what your company can afford. Now listen to me very carefully. If we do reckless things and our business closes down, it'll affect everybody and our staff for the long term. We need to make decisions for the long term. So whatever discussions or decisions you make with your staff, you need to keep their long-term future and your business's long-term success in the back of your mind. I'm going to give you some options that are available that you can look at. So the first one is there's a system called TERS. There are three options in dealing with staff. The first one is the retrenchment regulations that are in South Africa, and hopefully most of you know how to do it. The second one is something called TERS, which was introduced in October last year, where you can have temporary layoff of your staff. So you can lay them off. You're not legally obliged to pay them any retrenchment pay, any leave pay, or anything like that. You can lay them off, and as business improves, you can bring them back in. That was introduced in October last year. With the COVID-19 crisis, they've introduced a TERS COVID-19. What that allows you to do is to claim money back from the government for the period of the shutdown. So there's three. There's the normal retrenchments, there's the TERS, and the TERS COVID-19. For the TERS COVID-19, you can claim up until certain levels from UIF from the government. Now, as you can imagine, there's going to be millions of unemployed people. For them to all apply to the government and the government having to pay out to millions of individual bank accounts, it's just not going to work. So as part of this dispensation, they have allowed companies to make submissions, and then the government will pay the money for your whole company into your account, and it'll be your responsibility to pay it out to your staff. If you don't know how to do this, Andrea and I, for the rest of the day, are going to be putting a Dropbox file together where all these applications and other relevant information will be on there. I think I'll put this presentation on as well. So everything you need and some of the things we talk about are going to be there, and we'll add a couple of other ideas in there. So these are the options you have in working with your staff. But you need to work out what your decision will be. TERS and TERS COVID-19 gives you the option of topping up your staff salary. And at Twincare, we're doing that as long as we can afford. So if somebody earns 6,000 Rand and you get 3,000 Rand back from UIF, you can pay the additional 3,000 Rand. But if you can't afford it, don't do it, and communicate with your staff. Believe me, they understand. They are watching the same news. They are sitting at home watching Netflix. They understand the challenge you're under. And for most of you, you can see the stress in your eyes. So they get it. But start talking to them as soon as possible, because they need to start planning their lives. Okay, and good luck with that, guys, because that is a very tough one. Okay, the other options you have on your staff is to restructure your workforce. Maybe rotate your staff. So one team comes in half day, the other team comes in the other half, and you pay them half. So at least everybody earns something. Or you rotate it by week. 1 week it's team A, next week it's team B. Or if you have to retrench deeper, get your hairdresser to do shampooing instead of having the luxury of shampoo ladies, which none of the hairdressers have around the world. Beauty therapists can maybe help with being reception or doing the cleaning in the salon. You have to think out the box. Okay, then the next point is there are some small business grants that have been put together by government and supported by some of the big and wealthy businessmen and companies in South Africa. We will put the link on the Dropbox that we are going to do, and if you want to apply, I think it's 25,000 Rand a business. It's hard to get it. I know a couple of people that have applied, and if you're not, you've got to be a business that is solvent, because if you're about to go to a business and you send them financials, they'll tell you rather close your business down. But whatever, I think make the application, you've got nothing to lose, and if you do get it, it's 25,000 Rand that'll help. Okay, then expenses. Now, in my career, we have built Twincare into the business that it is, but it hasn't been plain sailing. It hasn't all been growth. In 2000, our company went through some significant changes. Our turnover went from 32 million to 6 million within a month. And over that period, we had to sit and restructure our business. Now that is life-changing, that kind of drop, because we lost a big agency at that stage. And what I did is I sat down with the company expenses and I looked at every single expense. And everyone I looked at, I thought, I can't cut this. I can't cut this. I can't cut this. And when I looked down to the bottom, I'd maybe cut 5 or 6%. I needed to cut it down by 50%. I had to force myself to accept that, because once I accepted that, I was able to go back to the expenses and I managed to cut it down. Now, I've gone through that a few times in my life, both personally and through work. You have to change your mindset. And the starting point is to list every single expense that you got and say, how am I going to reduce it by whatever percentage you need to do it? It's not negotiable. Everything has to be cut. So each of you have got your own challenges, you've got your own expenses in your business. You have to make your own decisions. But this is something that's coming to you. You've got no choice. You have to do this. So make the difficult decisions now. You don't want the bank to be phoning or repossessing cars. You don't want your staff walking out because you can't pay them, or landlords coming and locking your shop up. You need to get ahead of this thing. I think that's very important. Because everybody's in the same boat, a lot of institutions have offered help. A lot of banks have got the option where they'll help you with your bonds, with your car repayments. Use it. Don't take any spare cash and say, look, let me pay my car for 1 more month and see how it goes. Keep your money in your bank and pay it when you have to pay it. It's all about looking after your cash flow, especially while our businesses are closed. Okay, then something very close to my heart. I'm sure you're probably all smiling now. It's supplier debt. This is an industry that belongs to all of us. Every now and then I get a client that gets upset to me and says, Stav, your products, listen, it's not my products, it's our products. We all make money from the same products. We sell it to you, you sell it to your consumer. We all make money from the same industry. If you cough, we get a cold. So we're all in the same business together. So the way that relates to supplier debt, you need to appreciate that we're also running a business. We need you to pay whatever you can. We're not doing a heavy, we're not going to hand you over, but we need you to pay something at least. Not to me, to our competitors as well, because we are all in the same boat. If we're going to survive, we've got to survive together. So do what you can. I understand you're not going to take huge risks in your business, but if you've got a bit of spare cash, you need to pay your suppliers, whether it's skincare, hair care, or any other business. We need to get through this together. And at the very least, communicate with us, okay? And I promise you, we're going to try and help you as much as we can. Okay, so if we look at that by way of background, so what do I do? Where do I start? Well, I put 10 points together, and I called it our action plan that you need to start thinking about. A lot of these need to turn into things that we're actually going to do. You know, just saying we need to get motivated and we need to be positive. Okay, we do, but what does it mean? What am I going to do in the next 5 minutes to ensure that we survive? So the first thing is to stay calm. Calm down and keep informed. Keep informed of what's happening in the industry. Keep informed what's happening in the economy. Keep informed of what's happening legally. Can I leave my home? Do I have to wear a mask? You need to know what's going on. Because if you stay plugged into the way things are changing, you will be able to make more effective decisions when you go back. Take control of the situation. Take control of your expenses. Communicate with your landlords. You need to be in charge of your business now. And there's a thing about leadership that I'll talk about in a few minutes' time. Take control of your expenses and your finances. Try and get a sense, put a financial plan of what your business looks like now, what it will look like if you go back and you've got a 30% turnover, if you've got a 40%, put different scenarios together so you know how to respond. You don't want stuff to happen to you. You need to get ahead of what's happening. Communicate with your team. Now, I cannot overemphasize this. It's good for your morale. It's good for you to get a sense of where your staff is. And more importantly, it's good for your staff. This Zoom, these webinars are fantastic. I think we're all becoming experts on using them. And I think they're going to become even more important going forward. So put some webinars together with your staff. What we're doing at Twincare is every Friday at 4 o'clock. And at Twincare, we used to finish early and we always used to have drinks. So we thought we'll continue the tradition. So we get a Zoom webinar going, so everybody has drinks and we laugh. We don't talk business, we joke, we laugh, and we try and perk each other up. But we also have meetings discussing the business, where individuals can tell us about their personal problems. They can tell us, or they can ask questions of where the company's going. We can have discussions generally of where society is going, because this is the time we need to stick together. Then communicate with your clients. I think the communication, and again, I've got a slide later on where I'll go into a little bit more detail. Communicating with your clients and getting them to understand where you are is going to be very important. Stay optimistic, okay? Stay positive. Interact with your friends, interact with the staff, and try and keep it positive. Then use time to improve your skill. And I know a lot of people have been doing courses online, which is fantastic. You can do courses related to your industry. You can go and look at, and my staff have been posting a lot, how to do facials, how to look after your skin at home, how to style your hair at home. You can do fun things that will keep your clients focused and optimistic. But you need to improve your skills. This is downtime, and you don't want to waste it. And you can do fun things as well. Learn to play guitar or learn a new language. Find things that interest you and go and research them. This is an opportunity for you to do things you've never done before. You know, it's a weird mindset. If you look at the lockdown that we had, the first week was like we were on holiday. Everyone was having fun and crying and at home and playing with our kids, and it was like we were on holiday. And then for me, when Ramaphosa announced the extension, that's when I hit my downer. That's when reality really hit home. This is a different world, and our thinking needs to be different. Point number 8 is to provide leadership to your families, to your staff, to your friends. And I remember a quote that I've used very often. It says, the pace of the pack is determined by the speed of the leader. So you will set the mood, you'll set the trend of what your future is going to look like. You have to take control. Point number 9 is look after your physical and mental health. We've spoken about your mental health. Now it's time to get that fat ass off your seat and do something. What my staff have done is on WhatsApp, they are sharing the exercises they are doing every single day and motivating each other and challenging each other. You need to look after yourself physically. Even if you do a couple of push-ups, you can do yoga, you need to stay physical because that again affects your mental health. Then point number 10 is prepare to reopen. That takes me to the next slide. Like I said earlier, I'm hoping there's going to be some sort of rush when we go back, because it'll give us a little bit of hope and a bit more money in our cash registers. So hopefully the nails look like the picture and people need it fixed. There's a lot of regrowth, there's wrinkles showing, and obviously there's haircuts. So hopefully there'll be a bit of pent-up demand and we might get a bit of a rush when we go back. Okay, so to prepare to open there is an option, because the dispensation was changed about a week ago, where essential services can be supplied. And under essential services, it had things like shampoos, cleansers, sanitizers, anything that contributes towards the health and the safety of consumers. So you can supply shampoos, you can supply cleansers. And the conversation I had with a few clients is, Stan, we want to open our stores, at least let's sell what we can sell. I disagree with that, and let me tell you why. You can only sell a limited amount of products, number 1. Number 2, the footfall in most shopping centers is tiny. If you open your salon, you will not make money to cover your expenses and pay the staff that are coming in. Secondly, I think you will lose the moral high ground with your landlords. Because if you sit and negotiate with them and say, guys, I've been closed for a month or 6 weeks, whatever it is, they'll come back and say, sorry, you were open, you were selling, I want the full rent. So for the money you will make, and I do not think you'll make money, it's not worth opening your salons. Having said that, each one of you have got to make your own decisions for your own business. These are my opinions. Okay, begin communicating with your clients and appeal for support. Everybody is in this together. So if you put fun videos saying, I'm looking forward to you supporting me when the business opens, look forward to seeing you again, we can have fun, come and have a glass of wine or whatever. Start engaging with them and tell them that you're looking for their custom to come back to your salon. And you need to connect on a social and a personal level. Maybe put some pictures of you playing with your dog and turning around and saying, guys, looking forward to seeing you back in my salon. Our business is about personal relationships. We all understand that. We need to knit those relationships even closer. We need our consumers to understand that we are suffering like they are. We need them to understand that we are understanding their pain, because that will get our clients closer. They will want to support us when things turn around. You can also do things like ask them to mail you questions. Any home care problems that they got, like I've got a rash on my face or whatever, and they can ask you for advice, and you can give them advice on email. Most of them will not use that facility that you give them, but it's the fact that you put it on there that will make a difference. Then post fun videos of you looking after your hair, or showing them your regrowth, or showing them your wrinkles and how you can fix it when they come back. Give them tips on how to style their hair, how to treat their skin. Skincare routines they can do at home. And try, and when you do it, engage with them and call them by clients. Hi, my clients, or whatever. Find the right words to use, but let them know that these videos are directed to them, not broadly to anybody that is on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, and then importantly, the kind of things I would do is to post videos of me sanitizing my salon. So maybe going to a salon, take pictures of you with a mask, wave, and do cleaning, and then you can speed it up because it'll make the video more fun. So we have to start preparing on what we're going to do when we open our business and start engaging with our clients. Okay, hygiene is going to be a very important part of our business. I think we get that now. And I can tell you the presentation that we're doing for governments, it's 90% focused on the sanitization and the safety we can provide in our salon, and the rest is the risk of people losing the jobs of people that work in our economy. So let's have a discussion about hygiene. I think we need to have a bigger discussion in a different forum with the whole industry to try and set rules in place that we'll all comply by. But just some ideas and the discussion I've been having with a lot of people recently is gloves and masks to be supplied to all salons and all customers. Customers will expect that. Okay, there's a certain amount of customers that just won't feel safe coming to a salon. And if they walk in, and I can tell you, I mean, I don't panic very easily, but I've gone to some of the supermarkets with my mask on, and all the cashiers have had no masks or no gloves. I mean, I didn't worry too much, maybe I did, but it made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. You need your clients to feel that if they come into your salon, they'll feel safe. Okay, so gloves and masks should be supplied to all your customers. Sanitize your equipment in front of your clients so they can see you taking it seriously. Where possible, I don't know if when you go to dentists, they've got your set of tools sanitized in a different tray, and they bring the tray in front of you, and some of them take the plastic off in front of you. That's possibly something that you can consider in your business and how you would do it. Then use disposable towels. I think firstly, the exercise we've done, disposable towels are cheaper. They're biodegradable, and definitely they are more sanitary than using the towels over and over again. You know, there's nothing worse for me to walk into a salon, have my hair dried, and you can smell that musty towel smell. Or I'll walk into a salon for a massage, and they take you through to the massage bed, and you can see the outline of the previous person on the towels. Now, I know none of the clients that are on this webinar do that, but the other clients. Okay, so we need to make our salon as hygiene as possible. Get rid of the magazines. Magazines, everybody thumbs and touches. You need to try and reduce the areas where clients can touch things and pick up the virus. Maybe suspend teas and coffees and stop giving drinks. Stop giving them things that they can touch. The less they touch, the more we reduce the risk of them getting the virus. Okay, so beauty, put clean towels on, and maybe put the towel in front of your clients. Have it folded up, let them see it's clean, and lay it down in front of them. Okay, and maybe you can do promotions like buy a shampoo, a conditioner, a facial cream, a nail polish, and you get a sanitizer free. We are going to review our sanitizer prices to try and help you do this kind of promotions. Okay, then review your business in general. One of the things that I want to say, and this may be controversial, but I want you to think about what I'm saying. A lot of the businesses that have been around have been marginally profitable, and some of them have been losing money. All you've been doing is paying expenses. The economy changed a few years ago. Our industry changed a few years ago. So if you are a salon owner and you own a salon that you're breaking even, close it down and go work for somebody else where you can earn more money. This is not about ego. It's about surviving and making money. And this is what businesses should have maybe considered months ago. If your business is not profitable, it's going to get even worse. So now's the time to make the decisions. Give the landlord the key and say, cheers. That will make our industry healthier. Because if you go work for another salon and you can negotiate a decent salary and make more money, firstly, you'll make more money than you were making in your salon. Secondly, you won't have the stress. Thirdly, all the money that has been going to landlords from unprofitable salons will stay in the industry. So each one of you need to sit back and say to yourself, do I need to have my salon open? Or will I make more money and have less stress and go work for another salon? That is a difficult decision because, you know, our salons are our babies. We put personal blood, sweat, and tears. And sometimes we let our salons bleed on longer than they should. I think this is the time for you to make those tough decisions. Okay, then to review your personal finances on the personal side, look at every single expense. Look at your bonds, look at your school fees. Find where you can cut. You have to cut your expenses down. You have no choice. The next point I want to speak about is online. I think we're all accepting now that the industry is going to change. The industry that we are going to walk into and the economy and the society that we're going to walk into in a couple of weeks, hopefully days, is going to be very different. Consumers are also living in the same environment that we live in. They understand that we've got to cut back on our contact with people that can possibly pass on the virus. So online has arrived in South Africa. We have been a little bit behind the curve from other countries. If you see what's been happening in other countries, there's been a huge surge of online purchases. It's come and it's happening in South Africa. So online is going to be part of the business. You've got two choices. You can do what the music industry did, try and ignore it and try and get around it, and you'll get swept away, or you can accept it and be part of it. So you can either make money out of it, or you can lose out. So at Twincare, we've been thinking about this, and we are working on a program that we are going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. We'll communicate that once we've got the presentations done in a bit more detail. You can also speak to the Twincare staff. And the program is as follows. For you to go as a salon, to create your own platform and your own online presence, you've got a few challenges. Firstly, to do it professionally. Secondly, to do it professionally will cost money. Thirdly, you have to manage the stock and keep the stock. And fourthly, you've got to deliver the stock to the salons and manage couriers. And thirdly, you've got to administer the whole system. And that's pretty complicated. So we are starting a platform where we will set up individual salon web pages. You will have your own salon page with your own logo, with your staff, with your contact details, with an opportunity for you to make appointments through the site. It will be your site, but we will handle the back office. We will keep the stock, we will deliver to your clients, and we will pay you a commission for doing that. So this is a quick and easy way that every salon that wants to take part in this can have an online presence. I think this is going to be very powerful. What we've also done for the short term while we've got this lockdown is we've extended the facility where salons can continue to sell essential products to their consumers, like I mentioned earlier, shampoos, conditioners, cleansers, and sanitizers. So the way that works is you get an order from your client pays you at retail price. You put the order through Twincare, you pay us our price, and we will deliver to your client. Okay, I think that is a big opportunity. While the lockdown is happening, you're getting a little bit of money ticking over. So you collect the money from your client, you send us their address. If you're uncomfortable with giving us their telephone number, you can put your number on the delivery sheet. So there's a problem, they can phone you. But this is an opportunity for us to sell something. Okay, so there'll be more announcements made on this. We'll communicate a lot more, but I think this is going to be an important part of our future. This is coming, it's here to stay. We can either be part of it or not. That is, again, your choice. Okay, then I just want to talk about the Twincare's initiative. Twincare as opposed to Twincare. This is an initiative that we launched late last year. And the idea about Twincare is I think corporate companies can no longer just sit back and take money. We need to get socially involved to the things that are important to our clients and to society at large. And there are three things that we focused on. The first one is on doing what we can to save the environment. And we changed a lot of our packaging and, that irritating paper that you get so the product doesn't bounce around we got rid of the plastic and we paper in this packing material. So environmental issues that we try to address. The second thing was social issues, and we try to support orphanages and SPCAs. And the third one is to try and create job programs where we can train people that do not have jobs and don't have skills in disciplines in our industry. That is by way of background. So what we want to do is extend that now for the circumstances we find ourselves. So what we're putting together is firstly a fund to help smaller salons that are in trouble. The way we want this to work, and I think my email is out to everybody, you got most of the invites from my email address. You can email me personally. The idea is to help smaller salons that can survive. If you are about to go broke, guys, we cannot help you. You need to take the hit and move past that. Otherwise, you're just going to bleed out for even longer. But if your salon that is just hanging on needs a little bit of help, if you can email us and tell us why you think you need help and why you think you can survive, and we will help as many salons as we can. I mean, we are financially stable, but we don't have unlimited resources. So some of the things that we're working on, we will give stock to certain salons. We can't do this for everybody. So we will choose salons that we think are viable. That's something that we are doing to give back. We will also help salons with business advice. I think this is a difficult forum for everybody to send questions. We've got over 500 people on this webinar. So you can send me questions on my personal email. Just give me a couple of days to respond. I've had more than 1,000 emails in the last 48 hours. Then with unemployed staff, if you are unfortunate and you have to lay off staff, or if you're getting laid off and you're a hairdresser or a beauty therapist, please get hold of us. We will do whatever we can to find you jobs. And if anybody's looking for staff, email me asking to look for staff. I don't know how any of this is going to work, okay, because this is new for all of us. We're all scrambling. But at this stage, we've come up with these policies that we think can make a difference. The reality is that we will all make decisions that may or may not work. We have to adapt them as they happen. So these ideas we put in place, and we may have to adapt these ideas as we go along. The fourth thing is we will allow reasonable swap outs for salons. Now guys, when you swap out stock, and the point about swap outs is we'll take some of the slow movers and replace them with faster movers. This is a big risk for us because firstly, we got to cover the cost of getting the stock back to us. And often you haven't packed the stock properly and a lot of the stock gets damaged. It's a big cost to us. So we want to ask you to do this in a careful and respectful way because like we are concerned and we want to find ways to look after your business, I want you to have the same concern for our business. Okay, then what we have done is we've started an education channel. So if you go on YouTube and you look at, and you go into Twincare, you will see there's a lot of education, mostly based on international educational programs. If you go onto Twincare Local, these are programs that our educators from our different brands have put on. Some of them are short, like 1.5 minutes, but I think have a bit of fun, go and look at it. So if you're looking to do something, and possibly if you do webinars with your staff, you can maybe choose the best ones and sit and watch it together and get everyone to comment and give opinions. Okay, so that's another facility we've set up. So guys, I've come to the end of my formal presentation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Andrea. He's been trying to log some of the questions, and Andrea, they've been pouring in. Okay, so guys, maybe take 2 or 3 minutes, start typing frantically. I'm going to have something to drink, and in 2 or 3 minutes, we'll come back and we'll try and answer as many of your questions as we can. Okay, see you in 2 minutes. Cheers. How do I get out of PowerPoint? Cheers. Oh, no, hang on a sec. No, hang on a sec. I'm still got something to do on. Okay, guys, we've got some questions coming through. I'm just going to ask Andrea to join me, and he'll ask some of the questions. So, Andrea, if you're going to shout out. And
hi, guys. How's everybody? Oh, if you could answer. Okay, just some questions that we have received.
So keep a bit of social distancing.
Yeah, sorry. I was very excited, by the way. It's the first time I put a shirt on in like 3 weeks. It's amazing. So just some questions that we have received. Just scrolling through. Okay, this might be covered. How do we deal with, so this is from Melody D, sorry. This might be covered. How do we deal with staff that are HIV that were already sent home before the shutdown to avoid contamination? Going forward, do you also deal with staff living in high-risk areas? Must they be tested before coming back to work, and also how often must the test be done?
Okay, there is a presentation, the presentation I spoke about that we are submitting to government covers health and safety. That's 90% of the presentation. So the discussions that did happen on the forum is that the shopping centre is going to try and take some responsibility on doing whatever screening they can for staff and consumers when they walk in. Now, those of you that have been following the science of this virus is you can be contagious long before you show signs. So it's limited, but at least if somebody walks in and they're sick, they can send them home. That's why having the right kind of hygiene and safety is important. Now, people with HIV are obviously at high risk. I don't know the answer to that. I think you'll have to try and get hold of your unions and get labor lawyers to maybe make suggestions, but I would be very concerned about people that are high risk coming to my salon. A big debate in the salons that I spoke to yesterday in hair and skin. Some clients felt, they said, staff, how can we put our staff at risk coming back to our salon? And I can tell you what I said to them is, I don't know. You have to make decisions for your business. You have to make decisions with the staff, and you've got to allow your staff to make decisions. There are no good options here. And the last thing you want is to force your staff in and God forbid something happens to them. This is new territory for all of us, guys. Each of you have got to make that decision for yourself on your circumstances, on the attitude of your staff, and what your clients feel. So this is something you've got to take seriously, and I don't have all the answers.
Okay, the next question came from Fabio Health. I feel staff is only focusing on the luxury formal side of the industry. The reality is the hair and beauty industry is much bigger than we think. There are salons in townships, taxi ranks, rural areas, etc., and some of these businesses don't have running water. There are now salons in the CBD that don't even sanitize. They don't work with appointments. There is no record keeping. And if we open up the industry, it means that we are opening up them as well. It is very tricky.
Okay, that question also came up in my previous discussions. That industry is going to be open anywhere, guys, because it's informal, because it's easy to set up. I mean, some of them you can put a bucket and you can get a generator and a clipper. So that industry is going to open anyway. We are more visible. We're in shopping centers and we're in strip malls. So we have to get formal approval for us to open. And that's the point we're trying to make to government. We are organized, we're an official business, and we can be policed better. And yes, you're right, the informal business is huge. What we can do is to provide leadership to the informal sector. Because one of the discussions I've had with a lot of my competitors is, as an industry, we need to try and identify what our health policies and rules need to be. And I think by doing that, at least we can find a way to communicate it to whatever sector of society we need to get to. And of course, we cannot ignore any part of our economy. But again, we can only control what we can control. We can't fix politics, we can't fix the exchange rate, we can't fix Donald Trump. There's certain things we can do and certain things we can't do.
Okay, the next question was about the Bargaining Council. What about the Bargaining Council and their laws concerning minimum salaries if we are going to rotate staff?
I don't know. I think you'll have to get hold of your bargaining councils. I can tell you everybody's changing their policies. The rules that define our industry and our staff has changed. So speak to your bargaining councils. I know there's different bargaining councils and they may have different rules. So speak to them.
Okay, a question from Craig Jacobs. What are your thoughts on dropping service prices?
Okay, I was on a webinar, I was a panelist on a webinar with Professional Beauty two days ago. And the topic of the conversation was exactly that. I think we need to be careful. We do not want to get into discounting, because once you start discounting, what is enough? 10%, 20%? We have to, however, add value to the services. Okay, so if you want to do gift with purchase, speak to suppliers, you've got to add more value. And I think for me, the perfect promotion you can do is buy any 2 products and get a free sanitizer, or book a service more than 1,000 Rand, whatever, and you can get a free sanitizer. Try and make the promotions relevant to where we are at the moment. I would stay away from discounting. One of the questions that was brought up in the debate is a client phoned and said, listen, I'd love to have my hair cut. I've been a loyal client for 10 years. I just phoned to tell you that I can't afford it, but I will come back to you when things get better. I would say to the clients, Mr. Smith, you've been a loyal client. Please come in on a Monday when I'm really quiet. I will do your hair for free once. I owe you that. Because then you'll have a client for life. The way you interact with your clients and the way you market yourself is going to depend the long-term health of your business. Remember what I said, the decisions we make need to be long-term decisions. Okay, so we don't just get some money coming in. So, I mean, that's an example. You have to think creatively to every situation that you come across as far as clients are concerned.
Okay, so I'm scrolling through. From Jean White, hi, can I put my suggestions forward? How can I put my suggestions forward on helping with the government submission?
Look, you can email me, and please use the subject matter government submissions. I've got to get it in by just after 11 o'clock. Guys, we've been working the hair care and the skincare industry. We were working at 10:30 last night. I must say my competitors have been fantastic. They've been supportive. We've been on the phone to each other. We've spoken more than we usually speak. And we think we've covered all the bases. I think to consult with every single person in the industry was just impossible, because we literally found out about this at 4 o'clock on Thursday night. So I worked till late on Thursday night putting the presentation together. Then I consulted with whoever I could get hold of yesterday. With the hairdressing industry, we had about 50 of the bigger players, and we had about 250 or something on skincare last night on a webinar. So we've consulted under the circumstances as much as we can. Do we have it 100% perfect? I doubt it. I'm sure that if we put it out there, there'll be a lot of other ideas. But we've got a time constraint, and we have to do something very quickly.
From Mona, we are considering stopping the bleeding and closing down the salon. How do we deal with landlords?
Give them the keys. I think negotiate with them. You don't want to be arrogant. Mona, you're a lady. You go sit in the desk and cry. I mean, that always works. So you need to get out of your business. Find jobs for your staff, but get ahead of this. The longer you let this bleed out, the more of a problem it's going to be. Believe me, there's going to be a lot of people handing over the keys. Just say, guys, you can sue me. There's nothing for you to take. So don't be scared about these kind of things. You know, people are going to go broke, and landlords are going to have bigger fish to fry. So just go, and you never know. You know, if you approach them, they might say, all right, well, pay me 10%. Or the best option is if we convince our landlords that we can pay them a percentage of turnover, because they are in it with us. So if more people come in, they'll earn more money. If less people come in, they feel the pain with us. It's not fair in this kind of environment that the tenants take all the pain.
Okay, from Quinton Kloppers, we are both tenants and landlords. So my question is this: how could we effectively engage with municipalities to mitigate the huge property tax increases that have just come through?
Okay, again, the way I handle these kind of problems and the approach that we're taking is there are bigger players that are going to be dealing with this exact issue. Government is making some changes where there's certain VAT you don't have to pay and certain UIFs you have to pay. So anyway, they're making dispensations where certain things will either be reduced or don't have to be paid. So on those kind of issues, they'll have to be addressed. So I would look in the news, let the bigger players take that on.
Okay, from Shanti, does UIF pay out according to Stylist Basic or the average turnover including commission?
That I don't know. You'll have to speak to your fund. The way I know UIF is calculating it for fixed salary earners is you get a percentage of your salary up until people that earn 17,000 Rand. The maximum you can get, so if you're earning over 17,000 Rand, I think the figures run about 6,000, 6,500. So if you earn 100,000, the maximum you'll get is 6,000. If you earn 17,000, the maximum you'll get is 6,000. And there are brackets below that to a minimum of 3,500. So it depends on your salary bracket up until 70. But I think, again, to answer the question, get hold of your bargaining councils, guys. You've all been moaning about paying your fees. Now's the time you need to get your money's worth.
Okay, from Honest Grayling, do we know if any salons that have funding from the SSME debt relief fund? If so, what are the terms and conditions?
We are going to put the application form on that Dropbox that we spoke about. I think, can they do thumbs up on that? Okay, just to answer that question, if anybody's received support, just put a thumbs up so it'll be easier for us to, and while we talk, we'll just count the thumbs up. Okay. But I can tell you that the businesses that I've spoken to, well, there aren't many, there's about 3, and they've all been turned down. Guys, this is a scary time. You know, I wake up every single morning and, you know, you sort of halfway through your slumber, and in the reality, you remember where you are. And I can tell you, I can relate back to, I lost my father years ago. And every morning you'd wake up not really sure where you are, and the thought hits your mind and you remember that pain. And I'm getting a similar sense at the moment, and I know you all probably are going through the same emotions. And it's tough. The only upside is we're all in this together. What your competitors are going to do, probably things that you're going to do. And what works and what other business is doing successfully, you'll have to copy very quickly. It's about adapting to circumstances as they roll out.
Okay, from Stoffel, what can we expect to be presented to government? Who is lobbying this for us?
Okay, because we were in the meeting for all the tenants. Again, I wasn't in it, but some of my staff were, and they phoned me and said, Stan, this is serious, we've got to get on top of this. So I jumped in it on Thursday night and started doing a presentation. Then what I did is I got hold of all the players that I could, and we had 40 of the industry's biggest players and some of the smaller ones. They joined me on a webinar yesterday at 12 o'clock. And then I sent out a message out to the beauty industry. They joined me at 7 o'clock last night. We had about 250 people. So we have cobbled together a presentation that I think works. I've had some excellent input from L'Oreal and from Wella and a few other competitors. So we have all put together what we think we can. We did not have the luxury of time to sit and do a bigger consultation. So, you know, one of the things I asked the beauty industry is, can we go ahead? Because we don't want to do it without support. There were a few no's, and I don't understand why, but overwhelmingly, there were yeses. So I think we cannot just sit back and not do nothing, because if we do nothing, we will definitely open in July, I think, not before. And I don't want to be negative about it, but take into account the industry we're in and the threat that we have. It's unlikely, I think, they're going to let us open. I can tell you that. Not too early. We are a high-risk industry, but we've got to do something. We can't just sit and let, excuse the expression, shit happen to us. We've got to get ahead of it.
It's really covered most of it.
Okay, so guys, so some of the questions were not that relevant, and some of the things we covered. So if there were a lot of questions, so if your question wasn't answered,
you can review them and we'll also submit back to you guys then.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to communicate with me, please make sure your points are relevant, because I'm getting inundated with mails and requests and telephone calls. My phone doesn't stop ringing. I mean, while I've been sitting here, I've had about 15 phone calls that have been coming in, and emails are just pouring in. So if it's relevant and you really want to know something, please, I will answer if you give me a little bit of time.
Just so everyone is aware, this seminar has been recorded, so we will be publishing it on our YouTube channel and all social media panels. So just look out for it. On those, in the description, we'll also share links to all the pertinent material that you require in terms of applications for tours and any other documents that were spoken about.
Okay, guys, then I'd just like to end off by saying thank you for joining us. I hope you got a little bit more insight than you had before, and you got lots of questions in your own mind that you've got to answer. We've got to have a plan. We have to survive. And I'd like to end off by just saying, but this thing works, and it doesn't work. I will see you on the other side. So good luck with your businesses, good luck with your family, and we'll keep communicating. It depends on where the industry goes, what happens over the next couple of weeks. We may do another webinar, but I want to have relevant webinars. Okay, so if we can think of something or something that you want to suggest, you can always send me the email. Guys, thank you very much. Be safe, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Ciao.